Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Mr. Action, back at you with another episode of Packed In Action Figure Reviews, where we give you that action that's packed in. And on today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends series retro carded Iron Man Model 20. And when this figure was announced, initially I was, anticipating getting this figure because I really do like the aesthetics and how it looks. But then when I started taking a look at some of the promotional images, there were a few things that, I personally wouldn't have chosen to do as a design choice. But sometimes, you have to have these figures in your hand, in order to make that final judgment call to see if whether or not, if it's that big of a deal or if it's not. So with that being said, let's get this guy out of the box and let's take a closer look. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have Tony Stark, aka Robert Downey Jr., aka the Iron Man, out of the box. And I really want to like this figure. I have to be completely honest with you guys. I think aesthetically, for the most part, this figure is, it's definitely pleasing to the eyes. However, there are a few things about this figure that kind of irk my nerves a little bit. And it kind of makes me scratch my head as to why Hasbro decided that they were going to go with certain design choices. But of course, as we get into the review, we will get a little bit more detailed regarding those things. But apart from that, I really do like the way this Iron Man looks. The Model 20 suit is one of my favorite suits that Iron Man has, apart from the Extremist suit. I do like the intricacies that this suit has. There's a lot of details and there's a lot of line work that I like in it that, really definitely make the mold pop. I do like the color scheme. I do like the paint work, that's on there. There are a lot of things to like about the figure. However, there are also a lot of things to not like about this figure. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get this guy down and we're going to go ahead and get into this review. So first things first, jumping into the accessories of this figure, our Iron Man does come with 2 additional hands, and one of them happens to be the standard fisted hand that we see time and time again. I do like the way that it came out. There is some red metallic paint on there and it does have that nice sheen. Unfortunately, on my fisted hand, I do have a little bit of marbling here on, the shield part on his fist. And I really like the way it came out. I do like the fingers. I like the fact that they're very blocky and robotic, like it is a an iron suit. So very good attention to detail there. And then the other hand that he does come with is this open hand. And unfortunately, similarly to the other hand that I just showed you guys, we do have a little bit of marbling here. But other than that, I still do like the way that these hands came out. Now, unfortunately, we are going to talk about it as we go further in depth into this review, but there is going to be some issues when it comes down to the articulation. Unfortunately, this piece that sticks out here, it is going to prevent this Iron Man from getting his hand properly posed, which can be a problem. But we will get into more details with that. Along with those extra pair of hands, our Iron Man does also come with these blast effects. He does come with 4 of them, so they're pretty much more or less all the same thing. And I really do like the way that these came out. However, I kind of do wish that we had that extra piece that we've seen with other blast effects before. So similar to this, and the reason why I say that is because when we do plug these in to our Iron Man ports on his arms and his legs, some of that peg is going to be showing from out of the figure, which can be quite bummersome. So that is something to look out for. Now jumping over into the aesthetics of this figure, I feel like for the most part, Hasbro delivered an exceptionally well, aesthetically pleasing looking figure, except for one particular thing that is an eyesore for me, but when we get there, we will get there. So starting off with the head, man, I really do like the metallic gold / yellow that they decided that they were going to use for this figure. I feel like it definitely pops. I do like the sheen, and I do like the fact that the light bounces off of this figure. I feel like it gives this Iron Man a more realistic kind of look. And I also do like, the painted eyes, man. I just really like, this suit in general. But with this figure, specifically, I just like, the mask, what I'm saying? I just like, how, the head looks, what I'm saying? Then moving over here down to the neck, we do see that we do have some more line work in there. And, that's one of my favorite things about this particular figure is that, there's a lot of intricacies and details as far as like lines and stuff like that. And I feel like it really makes the mold of this figure really pop, man. Then over here, taking a look at the chest piece, we do have that thing there. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me. And then, I do like how it has like the little yellow in there to kind of make it seem like it's glowing. One thing I will say though is that the chest does seem to be a little bit on the small side. Then over here, taking a look at the rest of the body, man, we do have these shoulders, man, and you know, they came out really well, man. I really like the way how this figure was executed. Then over here, taking a look at the back, man, we also do see some more line work and some more detail, and you know what I'm saying, his wings or whatever it is that you want to call that. Then over here, taking a look at the hands, man, you know, just very well, decent figure. Now, one thing I will say, and you know, when we get to the articulation, I will mention it, but for some reason it doesn't seem like his elbows bend completely straight out. I feel like for the most part, you know, it's not extremely bad. It's not like his hands are permanently in a bent position, but that is something to point out. Then moving over here to the hands, you know, again, you know, there is going to be a lack of articulation, but when we get there, we will get there. Then coming over here down to the torso, to the eyesore, that I feel like many of you guys probably agree with me when it comes down to why they decided to go with, you know, this cut here. I kind of feel like, you know, this would have been a really good opportunity to implement a ball jointed waist, you know what I'm saying? And it's not like Hasbro has not been able to, you know, do it before. If we take a look at the Dr. Doom that we had not too long ago, we do see that, you know, this Dr. Doom does have a ball jointed waist, you know what I'm saying? And I honestly feel like, you know, why that wasn't implemented in this particular figure, the world may never know. That being said, although we do have this cut, I am happy that we do have this cut here, because it does give us that added, you know, rotation. So, you know, despite the fact that it does break up the figure aesthetically, you know, I'm still appreciative of it, but honestly, I would have honestly just preferred that we just didn't have that at all, because it really takes away from the figure from me. You know, I hate to be a stickler, but I don't know, man. I feel like it's 2024. Hasbro, you guys can do better than that. I love you guys, but you guys can do better than that. I gotta hold you guys accountable. Then coming down over here to the belt, man, I do like, you know, here the little circles that we have over there on the side, and I do like the line work, man. The line work to me is what really pops. I am gonna show you guys a quick mod. I'm just gonna take, you know, a black pen and just fill in those lines there, just kind of make it pop a little bit more. But apart from that, man, this is a very aesthetically pleasing looking Iron Man. You know, over here to the back, I do unfortunately have a little bit of marbling in certain aspects of the paint. It's not a lot for me to, you know, really take away from the figure, but it is just something, you know, that must be notated over here. Then I do have like these weird I don't know what this, I don't know if that's a part of the mold. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but it's like these lines here on the legs. If that's on your figure, you guys please let me know. Then moving over here down to the legs, you know, there is a little bit more marbling in there, ever so lightly, but again, you know, it's not to the point where it takes away from the figure for me personally. Then moving over here down to the legs, we do have some also very nice line work over here with the legs. And one thing that I did want to notice was that I thought that this was going to be a completely pinless figure, but it seems to me that these are pins. And you know, it to me, it doesn't take away from the figure, because we do see that there are, you know, these molded, I wouldn't really know what to call them, but these molded pieces here, and it matches up, so it doesn't look like, you know, it is you know, a pinless figure. If I said that correctly, you guys know what I mean. Then over here, taking a look at the boots again, man, I do like how we do have, like, you know, these little things here on the bottom as well, you know, the treads. And, you know, I just feel like all in all, man, this is a pretty nice looking Iron Man. I can't like really complain. You know, it's just, you know, just that waist piece, man, that waist piece really does it for me. There are a few other things that I want to get into, and of course we are going to get into them, into the articulation aspect of it, but aesthetically I think it's a pretty good looking Iron Man. Now jumping over into the articulation of this figure, starting off with the head, it would appear as if this head that we have is on a double ball peg. I am gonna pop it off just to kind of show you guys. So when we do pop off the head, we do see that the neck and the head is actually attached, but if we pull this apart, go ahead and get that off, we do see that it is on a ball peg slash hinge, which, you know, is a pretty interesting design. And if you take a look at, you know, this piece here where it attaches to, you know, hopefully we're gonna get some movement. So let's go ahead and get this head back on and see if we can actually get that. So looking at his head, that one part is on a hinge. The upper portion of the neck peg is on a hinge, which I really like. It's a pretty interesting design. So you can get his head to look up as so, which is really good. So if you want to get him in those nice flying poses, that is definitely something that you are going to be able to accomplish. And then he also does have some tilt at the neck. And you know, I'm actually pretty pleased with the tilt in the neck. You know what I'm saying? I do like this system. I feel like you're going to get almost, you know, some of that best range of articulation, you know, so you can get his head pivoted, you know, just to kind of show him some emotion, or if you want to have your figure, you know, looking in a different direction, especially for characters that fly. I think having that extra neck articulation is something that is going to be, you know, very needed. Then moving over here to the arms, we can get a slight T-man pose. It would appear as if maybe the shoulder pads are a little bit hindering his articulation a bit, but for the most part you can get his arms to go out about this much, I want to say. Then he also does have some butterfly joints which go back about this much. So I think that's a very good range of motion. But when it comes down to moving forward toward his body, that's where we are going to have some issues. And I think that's just from the overall design of how this suit is made. So if you do want to get his arms, you know, across his body, unfortunately they are going to have to be moved up, because as we can see here with that gap there, that's where you are going to get that range of motion. Then over here, taking a look at the elbows, he does have bicep swivel, which I think is really nice. The bicep swivel does go 360 degrees, and he does have double jointed elbows that reach about this far. Now one thing to notice is that, again, I mentioned it before, when you do extend his arm, it would appear as if, you know, he won't be able to get a straight bend in the arm, unfortunately. Then taking a look at the wrist, it is on a hinge, and unfortunately, as I mentioned before, you are not going to get it to really be able to go up, because that plastic piece is going to hinder it. And that articulation is especially going to be apparent in the open hands, because, you know, when you do want to have those blast effects in there, you know, his arm unfortunately is not going to get that full extension, unfortunately. Then over here, taking a look at the diaphragm is on a swivel, and I do like that. You know what I'm saying? You can get that nice range of motion. Along with the side to side rotation, he can bend about this much, which honestly, that's really not a bend at all. Let me move his hand so that way you guys can see a little bit better, but that's about as far as a bend that you're gonna get with this figure, man. Not that much of a bend, unfortunately. And this is what I mean when I say that if we had that ball jointed waist, it would have been better, because we would have had a lot better range of motion. And he can move back about this much, which is a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely gonna assist you with flight poses, but for the most part, that's not really back far enough for me. But that being said, he does have some nice pivoting here in the diaphragm, which I think works out really well. And then he also does have this nasty waist articulation. Guys, I'm sorry, I just really hate that break in the mold, man. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of it. I don't know, I just don't like that. But yes, he can move 360 degrees, and I do appreciate the fact that we still did get that. Then moving down over here to his legs, he does have some pretty nice splits. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the articulation, or, you know, just the mold in the figure, I like how that they have that there. Then he also does have some very nice thigh cut 360 degrees. He does have double jointed knees, which is also really nice. He can kick his leg up about that far, which to me, honestly, I feel like we could use a little bit more range of motion, but then again, this is a man in an iron suit. And he can kick his leg about this far back. His feet can go down about my joints are a little bit stiff. Actually, his legs can't really go far that back, actually, because of this here that you see. So unfortunately, because of how this suit was designed, you are going to get a little bit of hindrance there. Luckily, this plastic piece that we have up here, it is bendable, so you can get his leg to bend as so. Now, we don't have any boot cut, but we do have the boot cut here, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? You can twist the foot here and it will go 360, and you also do get some nice angle pivot as well. Now jumping over into some size comparisons, over there to the right we do have the Extremist suit Iron Man, which prior to this figure was my favorite Iron Man suit, but you know, looking at this newer one, you know, even though we do have that nasty, you know, waist articulation that breaks the mold, I still feel like, you know, this newer Iron Man is slightly better. Now with that Iron Man to the right, the Extremist suit, I did do a little panel work and I am gonna do it on this newer one, so stay tuned for that. Then over there to the right, we have the 80 years anniversary Iron Man, which, you know, it's ironic because, you know, these hands, you know, as much as I complained about this one, about how the hands can't move up, you know, these hands are stuck in this movement like this. You know, there is no hinge on there, so I think that's pretty interesting. Then we also have the ultimate Captain America, and here we have Iron Man next to the Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes, and here we have him standing next to Vision, and here we have Victor Von Doom. And man, I really wish that we could have gotten a Iron Man versus Dr. Doom in a Marvel Cinematic Universe, man. I definitely feel like it was a missed opportunity, but who would you think would win? Do you think that it would be Dr. Doom or Iron Man? So after all is said and done, I think Hasbro delivered a relatively solid Iron Man. Now, again, in addition to the, you know, the articulation with the wrist, I do feel like, you know, the articulation for the diaphragm could have been implemented, you know, a lot better. I do feel like when we do bend the figure in order to kind of simulate that, you know, that diaphragm crunch, we don't really get that much, you know, bend in that diaphragm. So that is, you know, something to notate as well. But apart from that, I feel like, you know, Hasbro knocked it out of the park when it comes down to, you know, capturing that Iron Man. I do like the way, you know, aesthetically how it looks, you know, despite those minor flaws. But apart from that, I think it's a pretty solid figure. If I had to give this Iron Man an overall rating, I give him a solid 8. So once again, guys, thanks for checking out another episode of Packed in Action Figure Reviews, where we give you that action that's packed in. If you guys enjoyed the content of what you've watched so far, please like and subscribe, as it tremendously helps out my YouTube channel and the algorithm. I am a small channel and I am working my way up. So thanks for checking me out. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay blessed. Now, one thing I wanted to do with this figure, just to make it pop a little bit more, is I'm actually going to be using one of these pens here. This is a Precise Point V5. And all I'm pretty much going to do is use this, and I'm just going to basically fill in all these lines here, and hopefully, you know, we'll see what the results look like after we're finished. So this is the before, and here is the after, and I absolutely like the way that this came out. I'm probably gonna go over some of the line work again just to kind of make the lines a little bit darker, but I do like the fact that, you know, when you do fill in the lines, it does, you know, really make the mold pop out a lot more, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of does hide, you know, this, you know, nasty waist rotation, or, you know, at least it makes it look better in my opinion. It doesn't stand out as much as before. So, you know, if you guys wanted to do a quick mod, this is something that you guys can do. So once again, thanks for checking me out. Like and subscribe. You guys have a good one.